the research you've done and what's it called? Target Corp and the Flexible Church. So that ebook, people should go download it and we're going to talk about it. But I think it's fascinating. Like, I think it's such a fascinating set of like research that you did to kind of connect some dots for the church. So let's jump
Yeah.
in.
Well, yeah, and I think something you said, Frank, that is really important though is um, what COVID did. COVID did not change really anything. What it did was it took 20 years of change that was already in place and it condensed it into a 2 to 3 year period. And so the way that people are engaging with companies and with churches and really in just their everyday life, those changes were already taking place, and we just were kind of hanging on in it. It just what COVID did was force us almost to face the new reality of what people are looking for and how they interact with church
Yeah.
and other areas of life. And
Yeah. Yeah. And I
what
mean, churches and like, I don't know the right kind of way to phrase it, but even as being a business that operates serving churches through
Yeah,
technology, we just know that churches predominantly lag way behind everything else,
yeah,
right? So like what you see happening in the for-profit tech world is 10 years ahead, and churches are 10 years behind that, and churches just slow to adopt stuff. Most of them, right? There's some that aren't, of course.
sometimes. I
But
agree.
most of
Yeah,
them are slow. And so, yeah, COVID just condensed it all really fast.
it did.
And some people figured some stuff out, and some people went back to their old ways. And now we're in this kind of weird, like, things changed. I think every church I've ever talked to post COVID are like, things are different, period. There's less people in the building. Attendance might be back, it might not be back. We're doing a bunch more things online. We're still struggling with how to
Mhm.
figure this whole thing out.
Well, that is what we're here to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
good news for us, and we had a chance to talk about this a little bit before, but the reason I was excited about this resource too is when COVID hit and the church got just totally disrupted in their model. I got very curious because the digital platform and digitization overall has been impacting industry for 20 years now. And so you hear the stories of J.C. Penney and Sears going out of business, and you also see the companies like Target and Home Depot and others that have this meteoric rise out of irrelevancy. They had the same exact set of problems that the church did. We can't get people in our stores, or we can't get people in our buildings, right? And we're losing relevance with the market that we're trying to reach. And so, hey, what was the reason that Target and Home Depot took off and that Sears and J.C. Penney went out of business? And for me, it's not about copying and pasting a corporate model. And I know that comes up and that's like a scary thing. Like, we're talking about Target and we look at their political stance. But the reality is, last year, they sold $83 billion of perishable goods. And I want to know how we can leverage their experience and their learnings to reach people with the imperishable message of Jesus Christ. So that's the thing that we're excited about. And Target is an unbelievably relevant case study in
Yeah.
in just that.
And I mean, just to make sure we hit the point, right? Like, J.C. Penney's and Sears, Target and Home Depot, all physical retail stores. You had to
Yep.
go to the store to buy the stuff from the stores. And, Sears and J.C. Penney, like back in the day, even when I was like young, like they were big operations. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how big, but they were way, I would see way more of them than I would see a Target or a Walmart or any of that, a Home Depot, right? But they all died.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? But you're saying like they just didn't figure out the shift to digital. Like they just got stuck there, didn't figure it out, and eventually that goes to a zero.
It goes to a zero. And one of the things, and we're probably getting way too far ahead, one of the biggest differences between the people who made it and the people who didn't was the willingness to confront the brutal facts. Sears and J.C. Penney fell in love with their model more than they fell in love with their mission. And our mission is to reach people, right? To make disciples of all nations, right? To take the word of God to the end of the earth, reach the lost. And we have to separate in some ways because our mission has not changed, but the way that we're reaching people and our methods have changed. And I feel like the church of the future is the one who is going to be more in love with their mission than they are with their methods. And that was the big differentiator between Target and Home Depot, is willing to say, hey, look, what we've done for 20 years no longer works. And we have to have the courage to turn and face the brutal facts of a changing economy and a changing market, and find relevance with that group of people. Sears and J.C. Penney just wanted to be relevant to that group of people. And there's a huge difference in those two things and how they approached